Hello, this is Ms. DB, and in this video I'm going to go over how to do some of the problems for the Solving for a Variable worksheet that's in your Week 1 folder. Our objectives are to solve equations and formulas for a given variable. So this is what the top of the second page of the worksheet looks like. It says that solving for a variable is the same thing as transforming an equation to represent one quantity in terms of another. So just like if you're solving an equation and you need to find what x is, when you solve for a variable, you're doing the same thing. It's just that there's more letters involved, more variables. So the first thing that you should do is figure out what is the variable that you want to solve for. So that's what this means. Identify the variable in the equation that you wish to isolate. So what are they looking for you to find? And then we just use inverse operations on each side to undo what's being done to the variable until we finally solve for the variable. Let's look at this example. If we want to solve 8x plus 3 equals 2y plus 15 for y, the first thing we need to do is say, what are we looking for? We're looking for the y. Here is the y. So everything else we have to get rid of. We need to get rid of the plus 15. We need to get rid of the 2. So let's see how we'll do that. First thing that you should do is subtract the 15 from both sides. We want to undo what is being added or subtracted to the variable. After that, you will simplify what you have left. So the 3 plus 3 and the minus 15 plus 3 minus 15 is equal to minus 12. So now we have 8x minus 12. On the right side, the plus 15 minus 15 cancels. It goes to 0. So we're just left with 2y. So we're getting closer to our goal of solving for y. Now this means 2 times y, so we need to divide both sides by the number in front of the y. So in this case, we're going to divide by 2. So everything on the left divided by 2 and everything on the right divided by 2. On the right side, this just cancels. 2 divided by 2 is just going to be y. Dividing both sides by the number in front of the y, it might be easier for you to think of it this way. Divide every term by 2. That might help keep you from making a common mistake, which is that people forget to divide everything by 2. So it's really dividing every single term by 2. So 8x divided by 2 is 4x, and minus 12 divided by 2, that'll be a minus 6, and then of course 2y divided by 2 will be 2, or will just be y. So we get 4x minus 6 equals y. And then we're done because now we have y by itself. That's what our goal was. So we're done with this problem. Let's look at another example. Sometimes what our variable that we're looking for is being multiplied by more than one thing. In this case, V equals L times W times H. They want us to solve this for W. This is the formula volume equals length times width times height for a rectangular prism to find the volume of a box. Since W is being multiplied by both L and H, well, it looks like land, but it's L and H, we have to divide both sides by L and H. So we're going to divide both sides by L and by H. The L's will cancel, the H's will cancel, and we'll be left with W. On the left side, we'll just have V over LW. That's the same as V divided by, but it's over, like a fraction. When we're typing, it's easier to just use that backslash that's next to your shift key by your question mark, and just go V and then backslash LH equals W. This means V divided by LW, or LH equals W. So sometimes you'll have to divide because to undo multiplication, you use division. All right, here's some of the problems from your worksheet. Let's do selected ones that we think might look tricky. Let's start with number 4. Number 4 says 3x plus 3y equals 12, and they want us to solve for y. And here's the y. So what you need to do is you say, well, there's the y, but right now it's being multiplied by 3, and it has 3x being added to it. The first thing you want to undo is this addition or subtraction. So to undo plus 3x, we would subtract 3x from both sides. Now 3x minus 3x, that cancels, and we're left with just the 3y on the left. Now on the right side, there's different ways you could write this. You cannot take 12 minus 3x and get 9x because the 12 doesn't have an x. They're not like terms. So you can just write 12 minus 3x, or some people at this point would change this to so the variable term is in the front and write this as negative 3x plus 12. Either way is fine. If you know you're going to be graphing it, you might want to go with this method because it's getting towards solving for y. Y equals mx plus b form has the x term next. But we're just practicing on this one, so it doesn't matter which order you write it. The negative does have to be in the 3x term though. Okay, the next thing is we have to undo this multiplication. It's 3 times y. Now you can do either of our methods we looked at on the previous page. I'm going to go ahead and divide every term by 3 so I don't forget anything. So that leaves me with y equals, and now you can simplify. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I have a minus 1x, but I can just write minus x. If you had written it with the x term before the 12, you would still get the same thing, except it would be negative x plus 4. And if you want to write minus 1x, that's perfectly fine. Either way is acceptable. All right, number 5 has some multiplication there. Let's look at this one. It says that v equals pi times r squared times h, and they would like us to solve for h. So h is being multiplied by two different quantities. It's being multiplied by pi, and it's being multiplied by r squared. So when you have just multiplication, all you have to do is divide both sides by what that variable is being multiplied. Divide by everything. So I have to divide by the pi, and I have to divide by the r squared. So I would be left with v over, if you were typing, you would use that slash key, pi r squared, and that will be equal to our answer of h. Or if you're writing it by hand, it's a little bit better to write it like this, pi over, or v over pi r squared equals h. It's very important that you keep what it's equal to. Sometimes students just write v over pi r squared, and that's not correct because you're supposed to be solving for an indicated variable. It's important that you have what it's equal to. All right, number 7 is one that a lot of people are unsure of what to do. We have a equals 1/2 times bh, or you might see it written like this, because this is the formula for a triangle. You might see it written like this, bh over 2. To undo the 1/2, or to undo the divide by 2 is the same thing. We need to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 1/2. Or to undo the division, we would multiply. So either way, you're going to multiply both sides by 2. That undoes the 1/2, because 1/2 times 2, that's the same as 2 over 1, is equal to 1. So then we would have 2a equals, this cancels, b times h. And we're trying to solve for h, so we would still need to divide by what it's being multiplied, which is a b, divide by b, and we've got that, I'm just going to write it this way, h is equal to 2a over b. Number 8, actually, I want to start number 8. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But in number 8, we have a minus y, and we're trying to solve for y. There's two different ways to approach this. You can decide that this would be a minus 1y, and then proceed, and at the end you'll have to divide by negative 1. Or some students prefer to get it positive by adding y to both sides to start this equation out. So then we would have a positive y plus 2x plus 4 equals 9. And then you would have to then subtract the things that are being added to the y. So I'd have to subtract the 2x from both sides, and I'm going to have to subtract the 4 from both sides. You can do that in one step, or you can do it in two. Now, I am going to put the minus 2x first, which becomes negative 2x, because some people forgot about combining like terms here. We have plus 9 minus 4. Don't leave it like that. That's not simplified yet. Simplify as far as you can by saying that 9 minus 4 is equal to 5. So I actually did the whole problem even though I was just going to start it. So this is one way to do number 8. And no matter which way you approach these problems, you should always end up with the same. There's only going to be one answer, one correct answer. All right, so most of these are the same as the previous page. This is supposed to be volume equals L times W times H. We already looked at that example, except we're solving for H this time instead of W. Let's look at one more problem. Let's look at number 15. In this one, we're trying to solve for y, and we have 5 minus 2y equals 8x minus 1. This one I'm going to solve a little different than that last one. Instead of adding 2y to both sides so that my y term is positive, I'm just going to deal with it the way it is. So I need to subtract the 5 because 5 is being added to this minus 2y. So that leaves me with negative 2y. This minus sign has to come with it. 8x. Now we have minus 1 minus 5. You can write that if you want, but you're going to combine these like terms and get negative 2y equals 8x minus 6. Not minus 4, as was a common mistake. And then we have a negative 2 times y, so we need to divide every term by a negative 2. So then these would cancel and you'd have y equals 8 divided by negative 2, or 8x divided by negative 2 would be a negative 4x. Negative 6 divided by negative 2, and negative divided by negative is a positive. So your final answer would be negative 4x plus 3. All right, I hope that helps you on this worksheet. Check your answers as you go. Let me know if you have any questions and do your best. Thank you very much and have a great day.